What is the vibe down there? And it's always sort of the first question. And what does it feel like getting this group back together?
It's better than I thought it would be. Like, considering how the season ended, and then kind of how the off season started, and then all the stuff they did towards the end there. You get down here, and it's definitely different. Like, it's a lot more upbeat than I thought, and I was surprised at the number of position players that were here and have been here for over a week. I mean, like, talking with Scott Service and some of the clubbies and stuff, Haniger's been here for a while, and JP and France, these guys have been in and out. And, I think that kind of speaks to, the anticipation of the season, maybe the excitement. You got some young guys that kind of have some stuff to prove. So there's been a bunch of guys here early. And I think that's always speaks well of kind of the motivation. You don't have a bunch of veterans just rolling in thinking, oh, yeah, here we go again. These guys are kind of here to try and get better. I mean, if you look at it, too, there are a lot of guys on this team that have a lot to prove still, even like the superstar. I mean, he wasn't happy with how his season went. He got here early, and he was putting in work. And Scott Service today mentioned just that having Brant Brown and Tommy Joseph, the new hitting coaches here, living in the Arizona area, living near the complex, they invited guys to come down early and start working with them so they could kind of get a feel for what they want to do. And all the players kind of bought into it. So I think that's a really big thing.
Favorite move of this entire offseason for Ryan Divish was which one?
Oh, well, from like the writer standpoint, it was bringing Haniger back because like I've known that guy forever and I get along with him really well. But from a baseball standpoint, the Polanco move was kind of like okay, this is different. Like when they traded for Haniger and Rayleigh and they did all that stuff, I kind of thought, okay, maybe they'll be done. Like, I didn't think they wanted to be, but if they couldn't make anything work, they could piece together second base with Josh Rojas and Dylan Moore. But when they were able to get Polanco, and then you put him in, and you put him in the top of the order, a switch hitter, and it gives you that lineup versatility. Scott likes to go left, right, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Like, you get him, and now you have Moore and Rojas. You can use them at third base. You have some options. I mean, I just felt like just made them a lot more interesting offensively. I thought they'd be okay offensively, but you bring Polanco in, they have the potential to be a lot better.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think he's probably the player they're most excited about. It's funny, and I don't know, maybe this is my own fault. For whatever reason, every time we go through this offseason, I keep forgetting about Mitch Garver, which is bizarre because he's now like the most expensive free agent position player that this team has brought in forever. So what do you make of that move, and how big of a difference can he make for this team?
Well, I like the idea of having more of an everyday DH. I know some people hate it, and I understand why the Mariners were trying to use it differently in past years. I just think, like, if you have a guy it's a pretty good all-around hitter and you have him penciled in every day, I think it just provides some stability to your lineup. And Garver is going to be an everyday DH for the most part. I mean, if he's not hitting at DH, I doubt he's playing. I don't see him catching a lot. I know he's been here catching some, but I just think having that guy there so you can kind of pencil around that guy, it makes a difference. I mean, so much in the last few years, we only knew that the first four guys, usually are the first three guys in the lineup, are going to play every day. We're going to be in there consistently, and the rest of it was all platoons and pieced together. Well, now they don't have that. I wrote in the paper the other day some of the numbers, but they hadn't had a guy get more than 250 plate appearances at the DH spot in quite a while. I mean, Daniel Vogelbach had 330, I think, in 2019, and before that it was Cruz. The rest of them has been pieced together. So I think having Garver, having a guy that you're in there every day, you don't see Sam Haggerty at DH one day or Jose Caballero or Dylan Moore. Like, you have a real guy there. I mean, that's a premium position. I get the need to keep guys healthy, but there was too many premium offensive positions where they were trying to piece together platoons or trying to, patch in spots and not getting production from it. I just think that's a waste of a spot.
Seattle Times, Ryan Divish here with us. One thing that you have in common to a degree with us, Ryan, is that somebody that you're used to seeing for a long time, and for Salk and I, was Pete Carroll for 14 years. And then last week, here comes a guy half his age, and Mike McDonald. Sit down for our first Mike McDonald conversation. Can be a little different without Larry Stone and his bananas next to you in that old media room?
It's crazy. I talked with Adam Jude a little bit And it just kind of said, I was going back and looking, and the percentage of columns that Larry wrote on baseball was so high, and he had a really good touch about being critical without being over the top. He wasn't going Jay Mariotti or Skip Bayless on him, but he would be critical when he needed to be. And I think that's the big thing is Larry came down and he stole all the fun stories. He's like, here, Ryan, I'm going to write about Julio this week, but if you want to write about Trent Thornton, that's okay. I'll write about Jared or, all the fun stories. But he did also have to write a lot of the tough ones. And so I told Adam, we're going to have to be kind of cognizant of that. Mike Burrell and Matt Calkins are good columnists, but baseball's not their forte. So we're going to have to be able to be willing to write some of the critical stuff or the big picture stuff that Larry often handled. I mean, kind of saw that in the off season when I got after John Stanton a little bit about not coming out and speaking to what's going on with the team. We're going to have to do that more just because Larry's kind of a loss.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think there's any question about that and all the equity that he had built for so many decades in the market. Ryan Divish here with us. Speaking of that, now that everybody is largely there, or come Monday, the whole team will be there, but a bunch of the players are already there. Ryan, have you done all your penciling? Have you figured out exactly where they are in payroll as we sit here to begin this season?
I think they're 132 or 133. Now, that's a rough estimate, and that can increase. They've got other stuff built in, but, I would think we kind of thought they'd be around 140 to 145 was their overall. So they're within range. I mean, they have a little bit of capital to work with. I don't know that they're going to spend it all right away. It's not like, when Brock goes to the grocery store and he has $200, he goes straight to the protein aisle and the supplements aisle and dumps it all right there. You got to save some for the other aisle.
More true than you would think, yeah. Do you see them doing anything else?
As well.
Do you see them doing anything else? I mean, we've sort of talked a little bit about
my forming
Matt
cream
Chapman.
is 17 freaking bucks with J. Crew. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Holy cow.
We've talked a little bit about Matt Chapman specifically here in the last week or so because Bellinger's probably not going to be a fit, and now that Solera's off the table, it does seem like the market for Chapman is pretty dry, which maybe could lower his value enough that you come in at the end and say, hey, this guy puts us over the top. He solidifies the one position of vulnerability. Do you think that could happen?
I mean, I don't see why it can't. And I don't think that I don't think that they should leave it off the table. I know they've discussed it internally. I think, it's basically a question of what Boris is willing to give or give into. He's been very, very rigid, and usually he wins in the end. But maybe at some point Matt Chapman doesn't want to go 2 weeks into spring training and not have a home. Remember that a couple of years ago with Dallas Keuchel and some of those guys. They were down in Florida hitting on their own at this private spring training thing. Players don't like that, and they usually believe that it doesn't lead to success in the season. So I think if Matt Chapman goes unsigned for a week or two here, I think the number is going to change, and Matt Chapman may have to go to Boris and say, look, I want to go somewhere. We need to lower the number. And if you're the Mariners, if you can get him on I don't think he's going to sign a 1-year deal, but if you can get him on a 3-year deal, and it's within range, maybe that's when Jerry DiPoto goes to John Stanton and say, hey, look, we've done a lot based on what you wanted us to do and the limitations you put on us. But here's a guy right here that finishes our lineup, and we go from maybe a solid team with everything goes right to, you remove some of the what if happens or what if injury happens if you add him. I mean, Chapman's not the world's greatest hitter anymore. Maybe he could be, but they have some issues defensively.
Yeah.
And I mean, I said to Perry Hill today when I walked by, it looks like you got some work cut out for you this year. And the look of pain on his face. Cause I mean, Urias is not a good defensive third baseman, and Polanco's not a great defensive second baseman, and even JP has regressed a little bit, but the look on his face is just I've been busy already. So, yeah, you get Matt Chapman, that cleans up a lot of stuff.
It really does. It's funny. It's hard for me because if they were going to spend that kind of money, I don't know that Chapman is the guy I would have wanted them to spend it on, given some of the other players that have been out and around. And, I would have wanted them to trade for Soto and spend real money.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many other things I think they could have done with money. But as you sit here today, it's hard to argue there's anybody else out there who completes this lineup better, given all the other things they've done and the position that he plays.
Well, yeah, you've talked about it before, but sometimes a player's value is all about the timing of need, of opportunity. Like Matt Chapman's value to the Mariners 3 months ago maybe wasn't as high when they were still trying to piece together how they're going to even have the payroll to do anything. But now Matt Chapman's value to the Mariners is a little higher because they finished all these other pieces, and here's one piece, and you say, look, this is the accentuating piece. We don't have to do anything else. And that's the one thing you could tell on to Stanton is maybe like, hey, look, if we do this now, we might not need to go get guys at the trade deadline or as many guys, and because of that, then you're giving up prospect capital and everything else. So, I think it has to be the right number for them to engage in it. But, the number's got to be changing as we speak with each passing day because Matt Chapman is a guy that's like about routine too. And I think that's one reason why the Mariners even are interested is the defensive aspect of it. They believe you can hit still a little bit, but like the guy's a worker. He fits in. That's the one thing I've noticed about all these guys they've gotten, Garver, Polanco, Rayleigh, Haniger, bringing him back. They fit in. There's no more. They're not taking the chances on guys that they don't know about, like the Winkers of the world. They want guys that are going to work and are going to bind exactly what they're doing because they just don't have time. Their window is limited, and you don't have time to break new guys in and wait 2 months for them to either get in or get out.
Put Polanco on that list too, right? Just a worker,
he's
and
a
worker, professional, and all of that.
Yeah.
I know the rest of the boys come in on Monday, so it's probably a little early to ask this question, but just kind of curious as we get down there in about 10 days or so, it feels like there is a lot of new faces, a lot of new names, a bunch of new positional players, a bunch of guys in the bullpen fighting for spots. Does it feel like there's more newness than you've seen in some time?
Yeah, it's crazy. Every year, well, with Jerry, it's always been that way a lot. It's like new staff and new players. But, you walk down to the one end of the clubhouse, and it's just nothing but 6'4" dudes with beards that all throw 95, they're all, and for me, they're all tall. It's like, hey, you're tall. You're tall. Like I was trying to hang out.
For you,
by
Ryan Bliss is tall. Like, calm down.
No, I ordered.
For you, Shannon Dreyer is tall, Ryan.
First of all. The queen hasn't arrived yet, so It's been nice and mellow. I haven't gotten yelled at yet. But I did stand by Ryan Bliss's locker to make feel better about myself. Because even Ty, Ty and I have similar body builds, wider than we are tall. Yeah. So that area is where I hang out. And then, Cole Phillips, the former first-round pick, is here. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, where's your wife at? Where's the paparazzi? Is she coming in too or what?
He's the one who's with married to what's her name, right?
Yeah. High School Musical, I think.
High School Musical, yes, the kids like that one. All right, well, so we're learning a lot. Are you also at Driveline with Ty? Were you also out there moving weights around with him?
No, but speaking of weights, Harry Ford just walked by. Now that guy, he's not very tall either. He should have been a fullback.
Yes. Yeah.
You and Brock can get together and just talk bodies if you want in a couple weeks.
Well, Brock is always accentuated on the lower half of every guy.
Sure.
Look at that guy, solid base of athleticism. But
power source.
No, it's crazy. It is the vibe, and for me, I've talked about it before, but I was just so disinterested in this team when the season ended. All we had was the drama, the 54%, and all the stupid jokes I hear on Twitter, and then you see the moves, and you're like, well. How's this going to work? What are they going to do? Because really, when they got rid of Suarez and they gave away Jared, I'm thinking they're just going to piece it together with quad A guys. They have no money. They're not going to do anything. Nobody's going to want to come here if they don't have these guys. And then all of a sudden, you get creative. You make some moves. You bring some guys back. And, yeah, there's risk inherent with the injuries. But at the same time, at least, the guys they brought in aren't unproven in that sense. It's not some guy we're going to take a chance, like the Shed Longs of the world. Hey, we're going to give him a chance to prove himself. No, what they got were real guys who have really produced at the big league level. They just haven't been able to stay healthy. That's a different metric than somebody who hasn't done it. Yep. And I think for me, that's more interesting. Look, yeah, these guys get hurt some. But if they're out on the field, if you get, 1,600 plate appearances between Garver, Haniger, and Polanco, what do you have? You look at the lineup, at least on paper, and at least capability-wise, what these guys have. You're probably batting Ty France seventh. Think about that.
Yeah, it's funny. I had him eighth when I was going through it the other day. Somewhere at the bottom third of the order. And so it leads to what, for a lot of people, will be an incredibly annoying question, but I'll ask you anyway. Is it possible that with some of the constraints put on the baseball operations group, it actually helped force them to be creative enough to make some moves that will make this team better?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, like, because like it forced them to get out of a comfort level, and they had to reassess a lot of things about what they value versus what they had. You know, like, yeah, Gino's a great dude. He's a really good dude. And he, you know, that part of it will be missed. But then you're also evaluating, he's 32. How is he regressing? Is this like something that's a trend that's going to go down? The power's going to go down. You know, he played a lot last year, but like, is that what you want? You know, is Jared, you're assessing, is Jared truly going to be the guy you think he is? Is he going to take another stop, another change of scenery to be all those things? So they had to reevaluate everything and what was important to them. And what they found, I think, is like, look, the identity is the 5 starters, which they were able to keep, and up the middle, Cal, Julio, JP. And then we'll figure out the rest. I think that's what they had to reassess who they were and what was important. And you don't like the reasons why they did it. And certainly, like, I feel like they could have still added Polanco and some of these guys without having to get rid of some of the guys or add more guys through free agency. But, you know, this is where they're at. So I do think, like, they have the potential to be significantly better, significantly more consistent, like, you know, not the highs and lows of it all with this team, you know, and it's all with the caveat if they stay healthy. But that's with any team, too, though, really.